What's up guys, Swift Coding back in with another video. Today I'm going to be showing how a transformation from console app to Windows Forms app. This is still C# though. So to make the Windows Forms app, what you have to do is and if you don't know what Windows Forms is, that's fine, because that's what this video is all about, learning how to use Windows Forms app and get good at it. Okay, so, and also if you haven't seen my other C# lessons, I strongly recommend you watching them so you are familiar with C# before going into Windows Forms. So what you want to do is create a Windows Forms app. So you want to go ahead and find Windows Forms app, but except you need to find Windows Forms app with .NET Framework. So Windows Forms app, .NET Framework. You want to double tap on that, call it whatever you want. I'll just call it my first Windows app. Then you want to press create, and then it should be creating it. And if you haven't found Windows Forms app .NET Framework, it's probably because you haven't installed .NET Desktop Development. Now you can always go ahead by pressing, when you open Visual Studio, there is a certain button that you press to go back to the Visual Studio installer and install more components and languages for your Visual Studio. And also it will take up more space, but it's your choice. So let's just let it create. Once it creates, you should see a screen like this. You should see all of the file itself here, and you should see a form1.cs and then in square brackets design. Now design, so this is just a tab for creating what your app looks like. So as you can see, it's just a basic app. It's called Form1. If you start it, this exact thing will come up. It's like every other app. Even Visual Studio is like it, see? So to access the code, what you want to do is right click and then view code. And it should open a new tab. It's like a browser. See, you're on form1.cs, which is your program, which is your code file, and form1.cs design is the design of your app. Now these are just the calling of namespaces, which gives you access to more functions. You'll need them a lot, but we can use them in another video. So the structure of the code generated is namespace my first Windows app, which if you named your project anything else, the name will be here. Public partial class form1, and it's a form. So you won't really need to, I wouldn't change that if I were you, because there's also the form1 design CS, which is if you make, for example, a button, all of the code for the button will be in another file, which you'll rarely need to access. So in every single Windows Forms, you'll have using system.windows.forms, which is all of the basic functions for forms. You should see a constructor and initialize component. Do not delete initialize component at all, because this actually starts up your app. If you deleted this and you pressed start, nothing would happen. So the constructor is everything that happens first. So if I said, well, any line of code you put there will happen first. But then you can also still do functions, void, function, and then call the function. This will happen, but nothing will actually happen because we haven't actually done anything. So let's just delete this. So what we're going to be learning about today is using the toolbox in design. So we're not going to actually do any code yet. In the next video we'll actually introduce the code in forms, but today we're just going to be learning the design. So you should see two things: data sources and toolbox. We're not going to need data sources for a long time because that's once you should master form 1 forms and then go on to like databases. So you should have toolbox and data sources. If you press on toolbox, this should pop up. Now you'll find a lot of things, like you'll find label, link, label, help provider, everything, a lot of things. They are all things you can add to your form. So, and you can also search for what you want. So if, for example, I search for button, where I can double tab, then click wherever on the form I want to add it. Let's just delete this. I accidentally edited it twice. Now we have a button. Now we can move it everywhere. Can make it bigger. Now, one of the most important things with properties like this in forms are your properties, the properties of the property. So you have your button, but say you wanted to change the color or the background or the text or how big it was or the size or accessibility modifiers. You can do all that by just going with the Solution Explorer, which shows your file. Under it, it should already pop up properties, and then button 1, which is the name. You can change a lot of things. You can change the name, say my first button. Now you'd expect name to be the text, but no, name is actually just the name of the button itself. So for example, if I wanted to set in the code this button to be blue, I would have to do my first button dot and then color, back color equals color dot, let's say blue. Then let's see, if we just start it, it should show it as blue since that's the first thing that starts and happens. So there's everything you can do. There's visible, and also you can change lines and stuff, and you could change things in your code at different times too. And also a lot of the things in the toolbox aren't actually things you can see in your app. They're things like for example a timer. If you add a timer, it's not going to be like a stopwatch label or anything. It's just going to be a timer which you can access in the code and put events on it and stuff. So as you can see, your button is blue. You can click it as much as you want. Nothing's happening. We haven't made an event. So there you go, a button. Now let's say label. We have link label and label. We're going to learn label today. Label. It's the exact same as button, except it just is different. Label is just text. So you can change the name to access it, the modifiers, the visibility, color of the text, let's say, blah. So that concludes today's video. See you all in the next one. Bye.